Nicole Strickland. I have been fascinated with the unknown and paranormal realms since childhood. After a profound experience with my grandmother's spirit 20 years ago, I have been on a quest to observe, study, investigate, and communicate with the afterlife and beyond. It's been an ongoing journey of exploration and discovery, one that has taught me how mortality and the spirit world are forever bonded through the veils of time.
Looking to launch your new masterpiece? Then try something new with Moonbow Publishing and Production. At Moonbow, we have a strong desire to serve authors in a powerful and meaningful way. After all, you poured your heart and soul into your writing, and we fully understand and respect that. Remember this: you will own the copyright to your work. You will have the final say on your work before being published. Even after all of that, we've saved the best for last. We won't take a percentage sold. Nope, not a penny. Excited about MoonbowPublications.com yet? We thought so. Take advantage of our company's services like book editing, formatting, and covers, publishing, and photography. Moonbow Publishing and Productions has everything you are looking for in a company. Remember, we will not keep any commissions. We are a boutique publishing company focusing on spiritual, health and wellness, and personal growth genres. Moonbow Publications and Productions, a new kind of publishing company.
Hi guys, I'm not sure. That was a little internet glitch. I hope everyone can hear me now. So as I was saying, let's try to remember where I was here. Of course, you're tuning into the Afterlife Chronicles, the first episode of the new year for 2022. Like I said, I hope everyone had a great holiday season. Of course, this is a remembrance episode, like I said, for my cat, Kayli Strickland, who lost her brother, of course, in 2016. Of course, I'm your host, Nicole Strickland, on the amazing WLTK-DB network. You can get there by visiting WLTK-DB.com. Make sure to follow the Afterlife Chronicles with Nicole Strickland at Afterlife Chronicles and Beyond on Facebook. And then, of course, WLTK-DB social media sites as well. So just a little bit of housekeeping before I get into the episode. I'm working on, some people know I'm working on a short, what I thought was going to be a commemoration remembrance article for Kayli. It's actually turning into a very short ebook. I'm at about 8,000 words, so I'm planning on publishing that on my website. Just talking about her and her brother's story, their transitions, the spiritual experiences I've had with them, and so on. So if you'd like a copy of that, please let me know. Also a paranormal ebook as well, Essentials of Paranormal Research, which should be coming out probably in the next 2 to 3 months, I would guess. And then, of course, Marie D. Jones and Denise Agnew and I got a contract with Black Spot Books for a brand new book, Women on the Fringe. So we're starting the work on that this month. And then, of course, I'm coming out with a brand newly designed website, of course, designed by Todd Bates, a station owner. Can't wait for that. So that should be coming out probably within the next month or so. So let's get into this. So when deciding what show to do, I thought, you know what, let's do a remembrance commemoration show for Kayli. And so and I'll get into the entire story, but she passed at about 2:53 p.m. on Sunday, November 9th, 2021. And so I want to say now, this is something that I don't think can be explained. I don't think it really can be defined. I don't think it should be defined, but it should be experienced, if that makes sense. I've had cats and even dogs my entire life. I'm 42 years old. And I've loved every single one of my animals. They all hold a very special place in my heart. They've all had very unique personalities and earthly missions. I have never had the soul bond and strong, I can't even put it in, eternal connection with any of my animals like I did, or like I did and I do have with Max and Kaylee. There is almost like a twin flame going on. Well, they're 2 and I'm 1, so 3, but it's like a twin flame relationship, a soul connection, a deep love, unlike any relationship, like I said, with an animal that I've ever had. Like I said, something that really shouldn't be defined, but should be experienced. And if you've had that with your animals or even with a fellow human, you know what I'm talking about. There was such an ability on our parts to really be in tune with each other's feelings and with our physical body, and even the illnesses that Max and Kaylee endured when they were alive, and even my dealt with almost about 20 years ago, and how they were there for me. So there was this great, amazing duality, just all around remarkable relationship, just amazing, amazing cat. I can't say never, but I don't think I will ever have a relationship with another animal like I did with and did and still do with Max and Kaylee. So, before I get on to a little bit of their story and their adoption process, I do want to thank everyone. I did read all of your comments on Facebook, every single one of them. I want to thank family and friends, colleagues in the field, acquaintances for all your prayers and all your well wishes for Kaylee enduring the heart failure and all of that during the last few days of her lives. You have no idea how much that means to me. So thank you so very much. I also want to give a shout out and a thank you to some very dear friends of mine, of course, James Brammuller and Kathy Brammuller, who, like me, are RMS Queen Mary lovers and aficionados. And so we spend a lot of time on the ship and that sort of thing. I want to thank them for the beautiful bouquet of flowers. That was so generous, unnecessary, but just super, super generous. And I cherished every one of them. So thank you so much. Going on to dear friend Joanne Yates, who also lives in the San Diego area, for the beautiful card, and of course this candle. I don't know if you can kind of see it here. It's an animal spirit guide candle, and I have it lit. It's from the House of Intuition. And then down here, I'll read it. It says, pause for reflection and call upon your spirit animals and animal angels. Let their unconditional love and eternal loyalty heal your household and heart. Light this candle to remind you that their sweet and simple spirits will forever guard and protect you. So beautiful candle. And I must say, it smells amazing. It's like the most beautiful smelling candle I've ever had. So thank you so much, Joanne. Mom, of course, thank you. I'm wearing it. You probably can't see it, but it's a heart necklace that has two little, like a lavender and a deeper. Can't really see it, so I'm not gonna even bother showing it. But it's a heart, and then it has two little, a lavender and purple heart made out of amethyst. And so my mom got that for me for Christmas, just as a remembrance for Kaylee and her brother. So thank you so much, Mom. And then of course Linda Myers for the beautiful, beautiful angel. It's kind of up on my bookshelf. I should have brought it here, but it's a beautiful angel with a bell. And I must say, now this is a synchronicity sort of thing. I was actually watching It's a Wonderful Life. I think it was on Christmas Day, and you know how at the end the little girl says, "Oh, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings," and then that came. So there was a synchronicity with that. And then of course I'm wearing it right here. It's a beautiful bracelet with a heart and paw print. I can't thank you so much, including everyone's well wishes. You have no idea how much it means to me. And then, of course, along with the Linda's bracelet and card, there was the Rainbow Bridge card that came with it as well. I think we're all familiar with the Rainbow Bridge, but I'm just going to read it because why not? It's very profound. So I'm going to read this here. Just this side of heaven is a place called Rainbow Bridge, when an animal dies that has been especially close to someone here, that pet goes to Rainbow Bridge. There are meadows and hills for all of our special friends so they can run and play together. There is plenty of food, water, and sunshine, and our friends are warm and comfortable. All the animals who had been ill and old are restored to health and vigor. Those who were hurt or maimed are made whole and strong again, just as we remember them in our dreams of days and times gone by. The animals are happy and content except for one small thing. They each miss someone very special to them who had to be left behind. They all run and play together, but the day comes when one suddenly stops and looks into the distance. His bright eyes are intent, his eager body quivers. Suddenly, he begins to run from the group, flying over the green grass, his legs carrying him faster and faster. You have been spotted, and when you and your special friend finally meet, you cling together in joyous reunion, never to be parted again. The happy kisses rain upon your face, your hands again caress the beloved head, and you look once more into the trusting eyes of your pet, so long gone from your life, never absent from your heart. Then you cross the rainbow bridge together. Beautiful. So thank you so much. So let's get into back in 2003 when I set upon my quest, if you will, to adopt litter mate cats. At that time, I had never had litter mates. I've always just had, maybe I had more than one or more than one cat in the house, but they weren't brother or sister, or brother and brother, or sister and sister. They weren't siblings. So Max and Kayli were my first set of litter mates. Now, before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the 2003 wildfires that struck Southern California, specifically San Diego. I think it, if I remember correctly, now or I think it was last year, it remains the eighth largest wildfire. Don't quote me on that in California history, but it burned 273,240 acres of land in San Diego. 2,820 buildings were destroyed. 15 people were killed, including one firefighter. And then I believe it was fully contained on November 4th of that year, of course. So it was shortly after that, I would say about 2 weeks, that I set upon my quest and I went to different PetSmarts and Petcos to see about adopting litter mates. And I have a list of all the different stores that I plan to visit. And then one day I was coming from a PetSmart in the La Jolla area, and then something told me it was I think it was my wisdom, maybe it was intuition, whatever it was. Something said, "You know what? Drive south on the 5 and go to the Petco off Marina Boulevard." That was not on my list. So I listened to my gut, went to the Petco off Marina Boulevard, and and there it was, this three-tiered kennel, and I walked up to it. I forget, I think there was a cat obviously on the top one and one in the bottom, and then in the middle, there were these 2, kittens that looked almost identical. I mean, obviously, they were brother and sister, just identical looking kittens, and they were kinda sitting in the back, and the smaller one, which was Kayli, was sitting on top of the larger one, which was Max, and they were about 3 months old. I wanted younger ones, but when I first walked up to their temporary home, I can't even put this in words, it was like instantaneous love and connection, and I think they felt it too because when I walked up, they both were intently looking at me, and I asked the gal, I said, "Is it okay if can I pet them? Can I visit with them?" And she said, "Yeah, absolutely." So she opened up the door to the kennel, and I gently reached my hand, and Kayli, who extended her paw to my hand to reach it, and it was just like love at first sight. Oh my goodness. So I knew right then, I'm like, "You know what? I want to apply to adopt them." And the gal said, "You know, I don't want to discourage you from adopting them, but there is an application already on them." I said, "That's okay. I'm going to fill it out." I filled it out that day, visited with Max and Kayli. They weren't named Max and Kayli at that point. I think they were called Judy, which, were cute names, but when I adopted them, I named them Max and so I filled out the application, visited with them, and then kind of I left the store with a sense of both happiness and anxiety because at that time I wasn't sure if I was going to be selected. So I went home, And then about 2 or 3 days later, I called and checked on the status of my application. And then in anticipation of getting them, I cleaned my entire apartment. Like from it was already clean, but I cleaned it. I disinfected the floors and the bathrooms. I vacuumed. I dusted all of that in hopes of getting them. So, I got a phone call, I think it was the following day, and I answered the phone, and a woman said, "Hi, is Nicole Strickland there?" And I said, "Yeah, this is me." And she said, "Hi," I forget her name, but I work with the rescue house, and I'm gonna get into that in a second. And I just wanna let you know that, you've been selected to adopt both Joey and Beauty. And I just was, oh my gosh, I was elated. It was one of the happiest times in my life. So I called family and friends, and my mom also lives in San Diego. And so her and I immediately went over there that day to pick them up and adopt them. And we shopped and got all the necessities and all of that. And it was just such an amazing experience. The gal did tell me, interestingly, when from the rescue house, she said, when you told us that you cleaned your apartment, we were so impressed by that we knew that you would, be the right fit. And she also said that, sadly, the other applicants lost their cat in the 2003 Cedar wildfires. I'm not sure if that uh, contributed to their decision. I don't know, but she did tell me that. But needless to say, it was such an amazing time. And the Rescue House of San Diego is, I think there's 6 different locations, I believe, but it's a nonprofit, volunteer-based organization dedicated to assisting cats through rescue, foster, and adoption. And I think it started in 1999, and it's rescued over 16,700 cats, which is amazing. So the company, or it's based on it's volunteers run the organization. So they work with about 8 different veterinarians to ensure that all the cats have their medical requirements tended to. They're examined. They're tested for feline leukemia. They're spayed and or neutered, vaccinated, microchipped, dewormed, treated for fleas. So it's a very extensive process, and they work extensively to make sure that the process is as streamlined for humans as it is for animals. So they work very carefully in making sure that there's a match between owner and adopted animal. Now, I, you know, I- is did they help with that? Yes, of course, but I think that there's a greater good, something in the universe that I don't think can necessarily be explained, brought the three of us together. And I have to question myself, okay, the rescue house. People would say, wow, you rescued both Max and Kayli, but in reality, they rescued me. And that's how I look at it. And just an all around amazing experience. And I think right now is a good time to take a quick break. So of course you're tuning into the Chronicles. I'm your host Nicole Strickland on the WLTK-DB network. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back shortly. Stay tuned.
Meet Nicole Strickland, one of the leading San Diego paranormal researchers. Nicole offers a gentle and humble approach to working with spirit energies. Being the founder of the San Diego Paranormal Research Society, Nicole is no stranger to the unknown. Due to Nicole's vast knowledge of the paranormal, she is widely sought after for speaking engagements on topics like Children of the Paranormal, Paranormal Investigation 101 and 102, History of Spiritualism, and more. Not only does Nicole research the afterlife, but also writes about it, and is the author of several books pertaining to the paranormal and its history. She has appeared on television shows like My Ghost Story, Travel Channel's Famously Afraid, Good Morning San Diego, and more. Have a conference or event coming up? Contact Nicole on her website, authornicolestrickland.com. That's authornicolestrickland.com.
20 minutes past the hour. Of course, you're tuning into the Afterlife Chronicles with myself, Nicole Strickland. This entire show is dedicated to the memory of my beloved 18-year-old cat, Kayli Savannah Strickland. If you've missed the first 20 minutes or so, I basically have been talking about how they got introduced to my life and the adoption process and the very strong soul connection, loving, eternal bond that I have with Kayli and her brother. And so now I want to segue. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, my mom, Norma Strickland, she's been on the show a couple of times. She's going to be joining us in the last, I would say, the last 20 minutes or so, because she was there with me during Kayli's transition on December 19th, 2021. So she's going to share a little bit about what she experienced and how how the whole process was for her. So, so I adopted them, and then the first few days home were insane. It was so amazing when I brought them to my apartment. They probably thought that my 701 square foot one bedroom apartment was a castle to them. I remember getting them in and then getting them out of their carrier, and they were walking around and exploring their surroundings, and Max found my closet right away and got on top of my dresser and was like playing with my clothes. Of course, Kayli found the top of the kitchen cabinets. Very, very agile, athletic cats. Both of them, right away, I soon found out this was so hilarious. They found the peephole on my door, my front door, and it was maybe about 5 feet off the ground, maybe a little bit more, and they would both sit there at the floor, and they would stare up at the peephole for maybe a minute or so, 30 seconds, and then they would jump up and their eyes would meet the peephole as if they knew what it was. Just very hilarious little behaviors and personalities coming out. And I worked, well, this was the time when I was getting my master's degree. So I was interning during the day for 6 to 8 hours. So what I did, because the apartment, I mean, it wasn't that big, but to them it was, I kept them in my bedroom, master bedroom area, just while I was interning, just so they got used to that space. And of course, when I got home, I would let them out and all that. So they got used to the apartment rather quickly, and just amazing, amazing times, and to see that our relationship growing and getting stronger was just amazing. I do want to get into, though, both Max and Kayli and myself. Well, Max came later than me, and then Kayli came later than both of us. But the three of us have dealt with health conditions, and it was amazing to see the relationship and the assistance that the three of us provided each other. Again, it's hard to describe in words, but it was something that was very palpable, to us and to others who witnessed it. So back 2005-ish, 2006, Max developed what's known as a pilonidal cyst. So it's usually in the tailbone area, and it's a tumor like cyst that usually has like skin debris and horse hair, sometimes teeth. So he went through extensive procedures and surgeries. They had to put tubes in to try to drain the fluid. That didn't work. He was put on very strong antibiotics to try to get the infection down. So I saw a specialist, and they actually had to go remove the actual cyst and brought it out, of course, to show me, which was fascinating. But I just looked at it like, oh my God, okay, you know what, get that out of my face now. I don't need to look at that. That's not what I said, but you get the drift. So that was a huge battle. I mean, he could have potentially passed away, but he had such will and such courage and such strength to get through that. And I think the love and the bond that the three of us had really helped him. Now, Max, segue or fast forward to 2016, I took him in for conjunctivitis, not yet knowing at all that he had any sort of heart problem. So I took him into his regular veterinarian. 2016, it was early February of 2016. And my veterinarian said, oh, he has a conjunctivitis in his eyes, but then also found an incidental heart murmur. So then a couple of days later, I took Max to a specialist to get an echocardiogram of the heart. And they said, as hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which I believe is a thickening of the heart muscle. And they were very positive and said, with medication and beta blockers, he can live a healthy life. So they put him on beta blockers, and he was on that for about, 4 or 5 days, and then I was laying in bed with him one night, and he jumped off the bed, was hyperventilating, crying out in pain, so I rushed him over, and needless to say, he went into heart failure. And, I wanna have time for Kayli, but I wanna say that they did everything they could and said, it's his time, and, there were a lot of synchronicities, like, for example, the song "Endless Love" was playing on the speakers at the exact moment the veterinarian came out and told me, "It is the latter, Max is going into heart failure," and whatnot. He passed away, the following day, and it was a very deeply spiritual experience, very hard, but I had a lot of experiences with him afterwards, like I have with Kayli, and I have shared those, on shows before. So, not to say that I don't wanna give Max attention tonight. He understands. This is Kayli's time right now. So, fast forward to Kayli, now 18 years and 4 months. Diagnosed with diabetes about 5 years ago, managed very well. She had to have insulin twice a day. About 3 years ago, she was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism and was on a medication known as methimazole, and, treated her twice a day with that. We've had to up the doses periodically and get her thyroid tested. Because she was getting toward, the elder years, she also developed mild kidney disease. So this cat lived for 5 going on 6 years with all these conditions, and you would look at her and you would not even think she was like 2 years old. She still looked very healthy and like a kitten, very active. So again, like her brother, just this out of this world, unbelievable courage and will and strength. And I had to take Kayli frequently for checkups and to get blood work, and she was just so stoic for all of it. It was just unbelievable. Now, December of 2021, I her and then she was having some weight loss, from the cats when they get really older, they do have weight loss, and then, of course, with the hyperthyroidism that contributed to it. But a few days before her passing, it was Tuesday, December 14th, I believe was the date, and I noticed retracted breathing, and I was very observant with Kayli, and I noticed that she had what's known as active breathing, where it's basically they're breathing more through their abdominal muscles, and her mouth was slightly open, and she was kind of breathing through her mouth. That's not good when you see that in cats. So I immediately rushed her over to the veterinary specialty hospital, which is kind of an affiliation with UC Davis Veterinary School here. Well, UC Davis is in Davis, California, but the veterinary specialty hospital is in San Diego, about 10 minutes away where I live. And so, they took her back, and, about maybe an hour later, because of COVID, owners have to stay out in the car, they can't go back, which is terrible. We're used to this, and so you're out in your car, and the veterinarian calls you, and you do, like, a remote conversation, while you're in the car. So the veterinarian, on duty that day called me and said, Kayli has fluid, she has pleural effusion in her chest and, has a lot of fluid. I can remove the fluid, but most likely it's gonna come back, and it's most likely heart failure. So, of course, I completely lost it in the car. I sobbed like never before. It brought me right back to Max, right back to Max. And I said, "Well, let's go ahead and remove the fluid and see how she does." And so they removed the fluid, and they started her on like diuretics and some other medication to help the contractibility of the heart. She had to be in the ICU overnight, and they treated her, again with all kinds of medications and monitored her and all that. And so I went home, and that night was the most painful. It was just I had so much anxiety. It was almost torture because when I left, the veterinarian said, "I'm gonna give you a call about 9 p.m. because we're gonna do a repeat chest X-ray and all that." And I forgot to mention, in addition to the diabetes and the hyperthyroidism and the mild kidney disease, last year, so December of 2020, they found a pulmonary nodule on Kayli's lungs and felt that it was cancer. So cancer, in addition to all these other conditions, and she just lasted like she did, is just even all the doctors have said it, like, it's unbelievable. They've never seen anything like it. So getting back to the night of December 14th, she was in ICU overnight. I didn't sleep hardly at all. I mean, hardly at all. I got a call at 9 p.m. from the veterinarian saying that, we did the X-ray and sadly there's more nodules on the lungs, which I obviously felt. I mean, it would have been surprised if there wasn't. And so she said, "We're just going to see how things go." And she asked me, she said, do you still want us to proceed with CPR should, you know, Kayli's heart stop?" And I said, I was unsure with everything going on if that would have been the right course of action because I wouldn't have wanted to put her through any more pain if it was her natural rite of passage. And so the veterinarian said CPR in cats with this condition is very brutal. It's very hard. I really, I do strongly urge that we do a DNR, which is a do not resuscitate. And I said, that's fine. And I okayed it. And so that night, I tried to sleep. I laid in bed because I wasn't sure if I was going to get the phone call, saying, "Oh, we're so sorry, Kayli passed away." So all night, practically, I was up. Then my phone rings at about, oh my gosh, 5:45 in the morning, the following morning, and I'm like, "Here it is. This is it." I felt my whole world collapse, and it was another ER doctor that had come on in the middle of the night, and this particular ER doctor has seen Kayli before when she's gone in. So he knows Kayli and knows her history and has told me that he's Kayli's pretty much his favorite cat that comes in, and that's just been so wonderful. But he said, she's managing, she's holding on, she's doing her own. I think she can go home later today, and I think that that's very important for you to have what he termed golden moments. And so I was so thankful. And so that afternoon, they called me and said, "We think Kayli can go home for golden moments." And of course, there were more medications added to the list, a heart medication, the diuretic, in addition to her methimazole and her insulin and all this. And I gave it to her, very punctually every morning and night. So she came home and I had from Tuesday. So I had a Wednesday afternoon, I had all day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday, and part of Sunday with her to have those cherished golden moments with her. During that time, she did deteriorate. She was basically going behind the couch and sleeping a lot, coming out to drink water because the diuretics make cats very thirsty. And then, of course, finding spots under the bed to sleep and whatnot. Normal. That's normal. I knew she was getting knew it. But I was very blessed to have that time with her. It would have been more tragic and a lot harder if the call had come that night saying, "I'm sorry, but Kayli passed away." So that time that I had really allowed me to get adjusted because I knew her transition was coming. And I talked with her a lot and I told her, I said, Kayli, you let me know. You let me know when you want. Let me know. You let me know when it's time and I'll do everything I can to honor it. And that time came, in the morning hours. It was about 7:30 on that Sunday, December 19th, and she, tried to jump up on the bed. I had to help her a little bit, and she laid with me in her cat bed, and it was just no words needed to be said, but it was an exchange of communication where she said, "Mom, I think it's time." And, I let my mom know. I said, "I think it's time." She let me know, and so again, later on that day, around maybe a couple hours later, the retracted breathing was back. So obviously, right? So I called the veterinary specialty hospital, letting them know, saying, "I think it's time." And so my mom actually drove me, drove Kayli and I over to the veterinary specialty hospital, and we got there about 2:30 in the afternoon. And luckily, by the grace of goodness, the second ER doctor that I was mentioning that called me at 5:45 in the morning, talking about golden moments, he told me on the phone that morning that I forgot to say. He said, "Nicole, I've had a lot of cats in my life. I've never seen one make it to 18. I've never seen one cat with diabetes, hyperthyroidism, feline kidney issues, nodules on the lungs, and now heart failure make it to over 18 years." And then he paused and he said, "I don't say this often, but I can tell you that Kayli is my favorite feline that comes through here." And you have no idea. I started sobbing on the phone. He probably thought I was nuts, but I was just, I have no idea what those words meant to me. And it really did help me. So getting back to the drive over, and I'm going to bring my mom in now because she wants to talk a little bit about her what she witnessed in the car ride over there. I had Kayli, so she was driving. I had Kayli in my lap on a sweater. I didn't even have her in the carrier. I had her in my lap, and she just normally she would be trying to get out of my lap and walking around. Of course, I would always have her in the carrier, but not today. She sat in my lap. She was facing me. She was looking up at me almost the entire drive home with a look of peace and content that only would have to be there to experience. The sunlight was glistening on her back, keeping her warm. And at that point, I'm going to bring in my mom, Norma Strickland, because she wants to share what she observed on the car ride over there. And then we'll get to the actual transition. Mom, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Nicole. Do you know what you just said? You said on the way home.
I'd said on the way home. See that? On the way home. Now,
she
why
was
would I have
going
said
home.
that? I meant on the way to the.
But she was going home, Nicole.
She was going home. See that? That's a slip.
That she was going home. So that's
Mhm.
very meaningful that you said that. I thought really meaningful.
Yeah.
But I was driving, and I just wanted to share with all your friends and colleagues that will listen to this, is that there's a picture that you've shared with on Facebook of Kayli looking up, and it's that same throughout the ride. And here I'm driving and I'm looking, and the sun is glistening, and you're talking to her softly, and your face is just a few inches away from hers, and she's looking up into your eyes, and she's understanding everything that you're telling her. And it's almost like, this is a soul to soul, a spirit to spirit.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Excuse me if my voice, and
That's fine.
It's beyond the languages that we know. It's almost like the language of the spirit. It's like it was universal, like no language that we know, but it understands everything. And she was just looking at you. She was comfortable, and it was unbelievable. And then, and all the way through 15 minutes about it took us. And then getting there, when they allowed you to go into the back, they allowed me to go with you. And I was so grateful for that, into that back room. It was a very comfortable room with a couch, and they had like a candle and a little water fountain and all that. Was very, very comfortable. And then you have her on your lap. And of course, the gal came in that explained about the procedure and whatever. And then they took Kayli back because she needed to have the catheter inserted in her arm. And I think first the doctor came in, and he is the nicest, when I say this, human being that is compassionate like you are, Nicole, and just it has like the intuitive type of feeling and love for animals. So he came in, he said they were going to go ahead and put the catheter in. And evidently you found out later that he held her while the catheter was being inserted, because how much he loved her. He said he just loved her. Mm-hmm. In fact, before he took her back, he just told you all kinds of wonderful things about the times he had with Kayli. He said she had spunk, and half the time he thought maybe she'd want to run out when he would be checking her, and then in the next minute she was sweet, and he just fell in love. He fell in love with that spirit of hers. So then he carried her back in, and you were sitting there. He put her on your lap. My heart was aching for you. You were very stoic, and you were very strong for her, but yet you let your feelings come out too, which was important. But you talked to her. You talked to her, and you told her how much you loved her. You told her endless love. You told her to go see Maxie. Yeah. And all of that went on. And the actual vet, through the procedure, I have to say, if anyone can ask, if all your friends were saying prayers for you and your colleagues, those prayers were answered that day, because it had to have been the most peaceful, beautiful event that I've ever experienced. And I'm a nurse, and I've seen patients die, human beings. Nothing has ever been as peaceful and as beautiful as this was. He explained the whole procedure. He had Kleenex.
He was even crying. The veterinarian was even crying.
We were wearing masks, and he was crying too. And he just he injected her with the calming. It was just like a sedative
to make her go to sleep.
She did not cry out. You were talking to her. She was against you. She felt your warmth and your love. And then, of course, the final, when he said, and he listened to her heart, and then she was gone. it was all so beautiful. And I'll just share this after. You may want to say more, and I'll just say this before I mute myself, is that after all of this procedure, many minutes later, because you got to hold her after her body had stopped functioning, and you were able to hold her. After, when we walked out, I just wanted to say it had been a pretty cloudy day, cloudy with a little sun coming out. But when you walked down the corridor, in this one window at the very end, the sun shone through. It was just a very spiritual event. And
Yeah.
if anybody is listening and they have any of their little babies that are getting close to leaving, transitioning, to just be with them and share your feelings with those little babies, and look for their strength too. It can be a beautiful experience, as very sad and hard as it is. And we go around in life, Nicole, normally when we don't have anyone we're losing, or anyone that's transitioning, and we don't think about it. I've learned so much through your experience now with Afterlife that you share, and it's really a godsend, all that you do, and all that your friends and colleagues do as well, because it
Yeah.
really opened my eyes. So I'm going to be quiet now, and I just wanted to share that. And I want to thank you, Nicole, the honor of being able to share that with you, and of Kayli, who I just love dearly. So that's it for me.
Thank
I
you so
hope that
much.
you're welcome. I love you dearly, Nicole.
I love you too, Mom. Thank you so much for sharing. So, she said it beautifully. I did tell Kayli the words I said in the car on the way over, as well as during the actual transition. I said, Kate, we're soulmates for eternity. I kept repeating that. We're soulmates for eternity. I said, Max is here for you. He's here. He's right here. He's here to guide you. Go with him. Go with him. And I love you so much. And we're always going to be together. And that's kind of what I kept repeating. Of course, I was remaining stoic, but I was crying a lot too. And like my mom said, we spent some time after with Kayli. We had about 15 minutes with her. And a lot of people might think, oh my gosh, that's morbid. But you know what? I did it with Max. I did it with Kayli. It's extremely healing to be with your animal afterwards and have that time with them. It's very comforting. It's very consoling. And I told Kayli, I said, you know what? I want you to get used to I want you to get adjusted to your new journey where you are. Do not feel obligated to come back here and help console me. If you want to, that's fine. It should be on your own terms. But I'm going to be sad. And I explained that to her. But I said, I want you to get adjusted to where you are. And then when you're ready, you can come and visit, and there's always that connection anyways. And that's one thing I want to impart that I've learned with both Max and Kayli's passing, is that it's so hard physically to not have our animals present. There's that physical loss. And this is, again, it cannot be described, it cannot be really defined or really described. It's only really meant to be experienced. But once you experience them being with you at all times and almost like enter your soul and being forever a part of who you are, the missing their physical presence kind of diminishes. Of course, you still miss them, but it provides that acceptance and that hope and that peace. And so that's one thing I want to impart. And when you get there and you experience it, you'll know exactly what I mean. Um, I'm going to forego the second break. I hope that's okay, just because I want to get to some of the synchronicities and spiritual experiences afterwards. And this was in the days after her transition. Like my mom said, the exit door down the hall when we left, there was such a bright light shining through it and emanating the entire hallway. That right there was a huge sign. Even the veterinarian said about a minute after she passed, he said, I feel her all around me. And we did too. We actually went to In-N-Out Burger on the way home. Now I'm forever going to associate In-N-Out Burger with Kayli's transition, and that's fine. And so on the way home from In-N-Out, I happened to just glance up. I wasn't even I wasn't even thinking about glancing up. My head just turned right. I glanced up at a billboard, and it had a finger up like this, and the tip of the finger was touching a bright orb of light. Hello, right? My mom, where she was, she experienced the following morning, and she told me about this. She said, I heard two meows. And I said, Mom, you know what that means, right? And at first, she's like, I said, that means that the two meows that's kind of a sign that they're together, that Max and Kayli are united. Just amazing. that next day I was driving, and I never see this. I mean, I never see it like I did this day. I was driving, and again, something made up into the sky. I was at a stoplight, and there were 2 birds literally in unison, flying around in unison. I've never seen that before like I did that day. I'm like, "There we go again with the 2, the together, the 2." These are all the synchronicities that happen that we have to pay attention to. These are all the signs. It was about 3 nights after Kayli had passed, and I was dreaming, and in the dream, in my bedroom, I have a desk where I'm sitting at right now, and Kayli used to sit on it and stuff, and she was in the dream, she was laying on the desk with her head propped up looking at me, and so I walked up, said, "Kayli, you're here." I said, "Can I pet you?" And I with my right hand, I caressed her fur, and I felt her fur, I felt the warmth of her full she looked full again, she didn't look thin, she looked like she was in time, and then I knelt down and I embraced her with my arms and felt her warmth and woke up. Help that all this has helped me so much with grief. And then about I would say a week, I would say about maybe 9 days after her passing, I had another dream. Now, I don't know if maybe I astrally traveled out to meet her, but this dream, of course, took place in my bedroom. So in the dream, I was dreaming, of course, or I think I was either maybe a hypnopompic sort of state or a hypnagogic, but I think maybe I potentially traveled out to meet her. So in the dream, I felt something jump up on the foot of my bed, and then I felt the pressure of the paw prints, like, walking up toward me, and I was laying on my side, and then Kayli came right up toward me, right up to my face, again, looking perfected, looking full. Before she got diabetes, she tended to be a little on the chubby side, that's what she looked like, completely full. I was, again, touching her, f and I felt her fur, I felt her warmth, and I also felt a heartbeat. Now that you know what that symbolizes. And I was looking at her in the dream, and I was touching her face, and I was talking with her, and then I woke up with such a sense of sheer peace that it's unbelievable. And so this is just a few these are just a few of the examples that demonstrate the beauty of the afterlife. And it's not something we humans should ever exploit. It's something that we should cherish. And all of these experiences and just knowing that it was her rite of passage and everything, have really helped with grief. Of course, the grieving process, you're gonna go through that pain. It's life's most ultimate cruelty to have to say goodbye physically to an animal that we love. But, almost having I have a background in psychology and counseling, which has helped, and of course, like my mom said, the work on in the paranormal realm has helped, but it never really takes away the pain. But once you really start to have that acceptance and you know that your animals are there and that it was their time to transition, it was their time to journey on, how can you not honor that? You have to honor that. That's one of the greatest acts of love we can ever give an animal, is to honor, um, rite of passage. So, of course, a week after her, on the 1 week anniversary of her passing, we went to the Queen Mary, of course, right? It's one of the best places I could be. And when selecting her custom urn, I found one that it's a brass urn. I think I have a picture of it on Facebook. There's a brass urn that has mother of pearl around it. Now, interestingly, there's mother of pearl quartzite in the former first and third class pool aboard the Queen Mary as well. So I'm bringing that whole kind of theme in there. It's a beautiful urn, and so it's on the wall unit. I did post a picture of it. It's just beautiful. Pictures don't really do it justice, but we got, a little this is Max's, but it's a little clay paw print here. Kayli's is I should probably put Max's next to Kayli's, and then a tuft of hair as well. So, just all around, very special moments, and, grief and loss and, thinking about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she was the Swiss-American psychiatrist, wrote a book, I think 1969, on Death and Dying was the name of it. She's, kind of a pioneer in the stages of grief. You have denial, and you have the anger, you have the bargaining, you have the depression and the acceptance. With Kayli, I did not really have denial, anger, or bargaining at all. I had more of a not so much depression, but more of a sadness, but I had a lot of acceptance. So not everyone goes through these stages in the exact order or, in the exact way, which makes it really interesting. I will say though, if you're going through this, I know how hard it is. I know, oh my gosh, I know how hard it is. Allow your grief to flow. Do things that help you to work through it. Don't bottle it inside. Um, and just for me, knowing that Max and Kayli are forever a part of me, always with me, it's a feeling that I have that really does help me process the grief and carry on. So I have many plans in the near future to carry on their legacy. I mentioned one earlier the article turned ebook, which I'm going to be offering as a free download on my site. And then, of course, if you want a copy, I can send it to you. Just let me know. I do plan to maybe write a children's book or a children's book series with Max and Kayli as characters. That's, I still have to think about that. I'm going to do it. I just have to think about the plot. Um, I've also developed, which will kind of be like this radio show presentation, Animals in the Afterlife, and talking about my experience with their transition and whatnot as well. And then I want to do research on this. I want to make sure that I go through all the right channels. Of course, I do want to establish a foundation in their honor. I don't know exactly what that will be yet, if it'll be feline heart health or diabetes or what, but I do plan in the future to establish a foundation as well. So I want to thank all my listeners, tonight for tuning in. Of course, this episode will be archived. Again, I want to thank every single one of you that took the time to comment and send prayers and send well wishes and everything. I read every single one of your comments, and you have no idea how much those mean to me, and I carry them with me. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I do want to read a couple of poems here, obviously in honor of Max and Kayli and everyone and all the animals here that have transitioned over the Rainbow Bridge. So here they go. Go to sleep, my son, for your journey has just begun. I'm gonna cry. Sorry. To frolic in the meadows and bask beneath the sun. No loneliness for you when you awake today, so close your eyes and go to sleep, and love will lead the way. With celestial wings lifting her away from the weight of the world, an angel takes flight in feline form. Quiet is the night in honor of her being adorned. A star is born and glistens in the light and of love. Kayli Savannah's home, of course, and Max's home as well. So thank you guys tonight for listening in. I hope that this has been somewhat helpful in some way for you. And of course, here at the Afterlife Chronicles, we're bridging the gap between mortality and the afterlife, one experience at a time. We will see you next week and have a great night. Good night, guys.